57. The gentle, the penetrating wind, only consistently firm yet gentle inner thoughts penetrate to others with good effect. The gentle penetrating refers to the way the sage's thought penetrates to us, and to the way our thoughts penetrate to others. It describes an influence on others that is unconscious and automatic. This influence occurs through maintaining a ceaselessly correct inner attitude in which we are balanced, detached, innocent, and independent through all the changing events. Sun, the trigram of the second daughter, represents wind that penetrates cracks in buildings, and wood in roots that penetrate soil. Through their ceaseless but gentle energy, the wind and roots penetrate the most obdurate objects. Just as roots penetrate the cracks of boulders and break them apart, the influence of the sage penetrates our subconscious until one day, in a flash of insight, we understand with amazing clarity. This is the step-by-step enlightenment by which spiritual mysteries are penetrated as we progress along our path. Receiving this hexagram indicates, number one, that the truth we perceive has been penetrating to us over a long period of time. And number two, that our dependence on the truth must be consistently maintained if it is to penetrate to others with dynamic effect. Striving to improve the situation through argument or persuasion may produce some momentary gain, but such efforts violate others' spiritual space. Enduring results that are achieved through penetration and enlightenment depend on our consistency of character. When we waver in following our path, we produce hesitation and doubt in those who follow us with their inner eye. Receiving this hexagram often means that elements in our attitude prevent good influences from penetrating to others. To have the correct influence, we need to penetrate to the root of the problem. Through sincere introspection and through asking for help, the sage's message penetrates and we understand. Because this hexagram is concerned with self-correction, we often receive it together with work on what has been spoiled. Hexagram 18. The self-correction most often needed is to cease striving to influence, because striving is based on inner doubt. It negates any influence we might have. Our doubt further inhibits others' ability to find their way and prevents the higher power from intervening in the situation. To empower truth and engage the creative force, we need to keep firm in what we perceive as correct. And we turn the matter over to the cosmos. Then we disengage from it and allow to happen what will happen. In penetrating to the root of the problem, we need to ask why we contrive or defend ourselves. Why do we revert to old habits of worrying and trying to make things happen? In examining the situation, we often find that someone or something has threatened our inner independence. In perceiving our vulnerability, they engage us in a king of the heap game. When we realize that we have been thus engaged, we are able to return to the inner independence of detachment that resolves the matter. Sometimes unperceiving how events are marching toward an appropriate conclusion, we develop an enthusiasm to hurry things along. We do this because we desire and fear. We do this because desire and fear create a pressure to intervene. We should keep desire and fear and the ambition they generate at bay. We should remain disengaged, content to observe events without hurrying or resisting them. Keep in mind that once we turn the matter over to the sage, he has means which are beyond our understanding. We should also cease reacting to shock. We need to bend like bamboo without becoming bent or broken through rigid resistance to the situation. Through non-resistance, the wind penetrates, the wind passes, and we return to the upright. We need to ask why we keep reacting after the shock has passed. Do we like clinging to negative possibilities? Do we find solace in distrusting the cosmos? Are we tired of are we tired of persevering and being tested, or impatient to enjoy the rewards of our discipline? Who is the one demanding the reward? Who seeks the comfort imagined at the end of the journey? Who hates our helpless dependence on the unknown? The root of impatience may be the fear that those we seek to influence will not find their way to the truth. We do not want to give them the time or space they need, because that means we must wait. Our ego may also insinuate that in the end our efforts will come to nothing, and we will be cheated of happiness, because history or literature or experience has proven time and time again that the course of true love never did run smooth, or life is meant to be nothing but suffering, or is a paradox, or only a dream and does not exist at all. Or some other idea that supports our negative mood. We sometimes listen to these ideas in a fit of pique and selfishness. Forgetting the myriad miracles we have experienced regarding the truth of the situation. Just as a modest, humble acceptance of being helpless leads to the inner independence that correctly influences others, a negative resistance to fate in which we close our minds regarding others has a destructive effect on our situation. We need to remember that when we insist on what is correct during times of challenge, and wait for others to go through the learning experience, giving them the space they need to find themselves. The boulders of entrenched evil and hardness will be broken by the penetrating power of truth. We also need to reassure our anxious inferiors that in the end, everything will work. Everything will work out better than we could have expected. Changing line number 1. The perseverance of the warrior furthers. This means we must be resolute against the encroaching inferior element. Usually this element is mistrust. Mistrust causes us to erect defense barriers against what others might or might not do. We should withdraw from any frontal assault aimed at resolving our problems or any defense of self. When others approach aggressively, we should keep disengaged, retreating from any impulse to join in conflict. Changing line number 2. Penetration underfoot. Forgive me. Penetration under the bed. This means we should search our heart and mind for hidden enemies such as self-pity, pride, a structured view of what should happen, or any inner complaint that might be causing resistance in others. The presence of hard, arrogant, soft, self-indulgent, self-pitying, or complaining feelings obstructs progress and endangers perseverance. Priests and magicians refer to the almost magical help that comes when we sincerely seek to find and free ourselves from these elements. Changing line number 3. Well, forgive me. The last line of changing line number 2 is sometimes we need only ask the sage for help. And now changing line number 3. Repeated penetration, humiliation. On discovering the harmful element, we are counseled to be resolute against it. The harmful element may be an inner conflict. For example, we may have settled into an involved inner quarrel about why things work the way they do, why we are put through difficulties, whether life is real or a bad joke perpetrated by a hostile cosmos. Through inner conflict, we relapse into negativism. We allow our ego to take over through its flattery that only reality is ourselves, and therefore it is up to us to make everything happen. In wrestling with events, we attempt to overcome them. In the end, however, we only throw ourselves away. The moment we consciously touch on the inner problem, we may be unwilling to recognize it as meaningful because it seems to be so minute a defect. However, we must not underestimate its importance, since it keeps us unbalanced and in a state of conflict, and it harms our good work. Changing line number 4. During the hunt, 3 kinds of game are caught. In finding and being resolute against evil in ourselves, we must solve all the problems facing us at the moment. It is part of the economy by which the sage teaches us to show us how one fear can produce seemingly unrelated problems. Therefore, this is described as 3 kinds of game. Therefore, changing line number 5. No beginning but an end. Before the new can begin, the old must come to an end. If relationships are to be mended, they must first be freed of the destructive and decadent elements to which we cling. Having perceived these elements, we can let them go, but we must remain on guard against their return. Such a return is probable simply because the attitudes are truly rid of them. We must keep alert to the resurgence until we are truly rid of them. A new beginning occurs when we have ended a particular bad habit of mind. Changing line number 6. Penetration under the bed. Sometimes a diligent search for the hidden enemy reveals nothing specific. In receiving this line, we need to let go of the search. For in sincerely seeking, we have corrected the defect of careless overconfidence. We should be aware that careless self-confidence is not the same thing as neutral inner independence. Self-confidence returns us to old habits of mind, as when we dismissed the help of the sage as nothing and intervened in matters as if the effect of time and the power of good did not exist. To be self-confident is to be self-confident is to shift trust in back to a belief in the power of the ego, self-image, in the guise of being ourselves. For this reason, we need to return to humility, realizing that under the bed refers to the place where we hide old habits of mind. This completes hexagram number 57.